Yuri.
I'm Jacob.
We're going for a drive. '20 Maserati Quattroporte.
SQ4 Gran Lusso without launch control. Interesting launch.
Okay, pretty much no launch at all. There's no launch control. It's really slow off the line.
Really slow.
But once you're going, it's pretty fast, and we've got these awesome column-mounted paddles to help us shift.
But first,
horsepower dirt.
424 horsepower, 428 pound-feet of torque from a 3-liter twin-turbo V6.
Let me downshift. It's pretty quick. It's not like lightning.
No, not even close. But it's really torquey up in the upper rev range.
And my favorite part is when you shift it, sometimes you can get it to make this really cool grrrk sound when you're going from second to third around 4,000 RPM.
Because this is a ZF 8-speed, which we love.
Ready for it?
Ready. Oh, yeah, that's good.
But in other gears you can't, only like first to second, second to third.
And it's only sometimes.
And before we keep going, if you're watching this without subscribing, consider clicking subscribe. It really helps us out to get a lot more cooler cars. Maybe we can even get a Ferrari soon.
Ooh, so we don't have to have a Ferrari engined car, we'll actually have a Ferrari? That'd be nice.
It'll probably be a Ferrari engine car too.
That'd be cool.
So if you wanted to have a better launch, which version of the Quattroporte should you probably get?
Well, that's kind of debatable because this can do 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 4.8 seconds, but you can get a V8 version of this, which will only do it in 0.1 second faster because it's rear-wheel drive.
Well, hopefully that makes it more fun for launching and everything.
I think so. It's just not faster, probably more fun and just more drama.
And this one is all-wheel drive, but in all the literature they say you get a rear-wheel drive feeling out of it.
You kind of do, and you can see it in the gauge cluster because you can see that it's actually directing 100% of the power to the rear wheels as you're driving normally, but then it'll push more power to the front as you accelerate.
Yeah, but you're not getting that same rear-wheel drive slidey feeling that we did in that last Levante GTS that we drove.
No. What about the Trofeo?
So obviously, I want to start with the looks because we've not driven a Maserati car yet.
No, we haven't.
Starting with the front end, we've got that awesome Maserati grille.
Yeah, we got the nice logo. It's huge, and the way that they hide the radar in the logo is fantastic.
We've got a ton of real grills there and a really cool grill pattern that almost looks like it's like a chain link fence kind of thing.
Yeah, and then we have those straight slats in the main grille.
And the headlights are pretty cool. All the Maserati headlights are kind of just a simple line. This one's got a little bit of curve to it.
Yeah, it's got like an uptick. It's almost like mascara or something like that. I don't like this as much as the SUVs. Well, there's only one SUV.
Mascara?
Yeah, it's like a whatever eyeliner, whatever. I don't know.
No, mascara is for eyelashes.
I don't know, man. Obviously, what's that stuff called when they draw?
That's just eyeliner.
That's it. Eyeliner. Thank you.
And you might not be able to notice, but this paint color is totally wild. It's got so much sparkle in it, but it's really hard for the sparkle to pop. It's kind of like the Mazda Miata that'll only pop in certain lights.
Yeah, it's actually a nightmare for us to make it look really cool because the paint is so cool, but you have to have it at the exact angle with the sun being at the exact right angle.
And it's kind of like a sleeper car because it kind of blends in with all the black and gray cars until the light hits perfect. Then it's like tss, tss.
Oh yeah, it's one of the nicest paints I've seen, and it is $3,500, which is not that bad.
Okay, now let's move on to the side view.
Side view looks like a Quattroporte, and for those that don't know, that literally means 4-door.
I love the side view. I think it's got such a cool shape. It looks a lot more European and Italian design than like the competitors like the 7 Series or the S-Class does.
Yeah, I think the side view is actually my favorite angle of this car.
And on the side, we've got a really cool Maserati Trident on the C-pillar.
And what do you think of these wheels?
I like them a lot, but there is a version that is more Maserati-ish. It's the kind that Chris Fix has on his dad's Maserati.
Yeah, it's all Tridents, basically.
I would prefer that over this, but I do like this a lot.
Yeah, I don't like these ones that much.
And what would be the Continental recommended tire for the Quattroporte?
The Conti Sport Contact 5.
Just like these Conti Sport Contact 5s I have on my GTI. Also, they're wrapped around these Flowform Super Speed wheels, so check those out at superspeedwheels.com.
And a signature Maserati thing are the chrome vents on the front fenders. I think it looks pretty cool. It fits with Maseratis forever, basically.
And then moving on to these doors, we have a lot to talk about. We have proximity touch so you can get in keyless entry, and that works perfectly. The next best thing, they're frameless.
Yeah, it's so cool to have frameless windows. I know it's like such a small thing, but it makes the biggest difference. And on top of that, we also have soft close doors, which is standard on this.
But I feel like I've really never had to have an issue with that because the doors close so perfectly. And when you open them, there's no notches. They kind of just stay wherever you put them, which is kind of weird when you're not used to it.
Yeah, so most cars have 2 or 3 detents where when you open the door, it just catches there. This one can be stopped at any moment, and there are some other luxury cars that have this as well.
And then how about the back end?
The back end is pretty standard Maserati Quattroporte. Doesn't look too different from previous generations.
Yeah, I like the way it looks. I think it looks luxurious. I think it looks very Italian design, which I know it is, but I'm just excited about anything Italian design because I just like Italian design stuff.
Yeah, and then we have real exhaust tips there, which is really nice for this V6.
Double dual. And then above that, where our trunk opens up, we've got the Maserati logo, and then underneath that, the chrome dips down right into the middle. I like that. I think that's
classy.
I think that's a nice touch on all Maseratis.
And what do you think of these taillights? Are they Kia Stinger inspired?
They're chill. They're chill.
Everyone says that the Stinger looks like a Maserati from the back because of these taillights.
Everyone said the Stinger looks like everything.
Exactly.
I think I saw RX-7 in there too a little bit.
Yeah, I like these taillights though.
And then from like the rear 3/4, we still have that nice body line on the back shoulders or whatever. But again, getting that paint to pop was so difficult, but when it does pop, it's so worth it. So overall, looks-wise, this Quattroporte compared to a 7 Series, an S-Class, or an S8 A8.
Okay, so there's a couple different ways to take this. I think this looks really cool because we haven't seen many of them on the road. Do I think this looks the best? Not really. I think the S-Class probably looks the best.
To be honest, I'm a little bit bored of seeing Audis, Mercedes, and BMWs. So when I see this, I do get excited. It's kind of like, I guess, the hipster thing to do to like it because there's less of them on the road.
I think we're both on the same page for that.
But overall, I think this does look better, but just because it's weirder.
Yeah, I get what you're coming from. That's why I want to say that this is cooler.
Yeah, but I still think, like, objectively, like, the body lines and everything on this are, like, perfect.
Yeah, it's really good looking.
Okay, so we like this more because we don't see them as often.
Yes, but I also like the S-Class more, but not the new generation that's going to come out, I don't think. The current generation, which is the old one.
Okay, now moving on to this interior, this is the Gran Lusso, not the Gran Sport. So you get more luxurious materials in here and everything, where the Gran Sport is pretty much just black with like cool stitching.
So my first sense in here, honestly, feels kind of old. I looked in here, but it just feels like everything is 10 years old. Not that I don't like it, but that's just the sense that I get from it.
And I don't really get that. I look in here and I see like maybe luxury for an older person, but it doesn't feel like it's dated to me at all. Maybe the most dated thing is that it's using a Chrysler infotainment and stuff.
Yeah, and again, for those that don't know, Maserati is owned by FCA, so there's a lot of FCA in here, especially in the infotainment.
Yeah, and the climate control buttons, it doesn't look super luxury car, but everything has been working perfectly in here. I'm not confused by anything. Nothing is broken down or anything. Like, it is nice having stuff that I know is top notch in here.
Yeah, I've had no issues with everything in here. The leather quality is really nice. The wood grain is not my favorite, but for an older person, probably really nice.
And I like this. It's kind of like the brown version of dark ash wood from Mercedes, but you can also get this in like the glossy kind of wood.
Yeah, I think it's just because of this spec for me personally.
And then because of the Gran Lusso, you can get a ton of different color options on the interior as well. You know, I looked up Gran Lusso. You know what Lusso means?
What does it mean?
Luxury. You know what grand means?
Grand.
Great.
Oh, great luxury.
Great luxury.
That makes sense.
Yeah, killing it with these names. So we also have rewinding satellite radios in here, even though it's not activated. I know this is capable of it. And we do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it boots up super quick. There are no issues with it at all.
Yeah, and then we have our heated and cooled seats, and everything's controlled through the infotainment. We do have some hard buttons for the climate controls, but not for the heated and cooled seats.
And then we also have a 360 camera and reverse cameras, but they are lower quality, and you can tell it's exactly Chrysler stuff. Like,
yes, it is.
If you like driving a Jeep Trackhawk, you will love driving a Maserati because it's the exact same thing here.
Pretty much,
and
or
then,
a Charger.
And then moving on to the gauges, we've got analog on the left and right, which is very nice, and I think that's very Italian luxury of them. And then we got digital in the middle with the 10 menus, exactly the same as Chrysler stuff, and it's very easy to use, very easy to see what's going on.
I think the font is very classy.
And lastly, the sound system in here is very, very good.
Yeah, it's a Bowers & Wilkins, which we like in many other cars.
And when you crank it in this one, like there's no distortion at like the highest level for me, at least playing off my Apple CarPlay. It was great.
So we'll talk more about the interior and the back seats, which we haven't even touched on, a little bit later, but first I think I should drive.
All right, launch it.
I'll try. I'm gonna try and brake boost it. That was a lot better.
So maybe they do have a launch control, but it just doesn't say launch control.
It just still doesn't feel like a real launch.
but it feels a lot better than just flooring it out of drive.
I think that's how you get that 4.8 seconds. So let's talk about that exhaust sound from this hand-built Ferrari V6.
It sounds amazing.
It really does. It has such a unique character and tone. I love it.
I love how there's no like fake exhaust crackles or pops or weird stuff like a Mercedes or a BMW would have.
Yeah, it's just authentic, and it has like a little bit of rasp to it, but like this classy rasp.
Yeah, I feel like that's an Italian thing to do, you know what I mean?
It really is. And yeah, this does have a hand-built Ferrari engine, so it looks pretty cool too. So if you pop the hood, you don't have any Ferrari badges, but you do have a nice Maserati badge.
Yeah, the way it says Maserati on the engine is just like so cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
I got it. So let's see how this handles into cliche corner in sport mode. And okay, a little bit of oversteer, but also a little bit of understeer. It's pretty fast though. I gotta give that engine credit because it's really torquey.
Like you can get through these corners fine, but look, when it says it's rear wheel drive based or whatever, or feels rear wheel drive-ish, it like doesn't want to slide at all.
It's kind of neutral, but it's also understeer and oversteer, so I guess it's kind of neutral. But yeah, there's not much body roll, but there is some, but it's overall very comfortable, which is what you probably want out of a Gran Lusso, because this is an S-Class or 7 Series or A8 competitor. And the steering's very light, it's not very sporty, but I know exactly what the car's gonna do with the steering, and it doesn't feel weird at all. And generally driving this and just the way it handles and feels, it kind of gives me the feeling of the Jaguar XE, where it like handles pretty well, but not that well.
And we can also change the suspension with the drive mode, so we have normal, increased control and efficiency, which is ICE.
Yeah. It's an interesting name.
And then we've got sport.
And then you can also independently control the suspension, and the suspension is really good. It's really soft, and then it's firm when you want it. I would say it's just right, but it's not at the level of an S-Class for comfort.
And then we've got a traction control button, but you pretty much only have one mode, and that's like everything off or everything on.
Pretty much. And you should almost just drive in that all the time, because it doesn't really feel like it does that much.
Yeah, this car definitely doesn't feel like it's going to get away from you on a turn.
Exactly. It never gets out of hand.
And you can also hit the shifter to the left for manual shifting, down for up for down the correct way, but you'd obviously try to use those paddles as much as you can because they are attached to the steering column.
Yeah, so they're column mounted, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, but they do feel pretty fancy and different and luxurious.
Yeah, I love column mounted paddles. Like, they may not be the fastest, but they're definitely the coolest.
They're definitely really cool.
I think it just comes back to me liking Italians.
Yeah, no, Italian stuff's really cool. So now I'm gonna downshift with the paddles. Downshift, downshift, downshift. Those upshifts.
Yeah, the upshifts are really good. You get that grrr sound from outside more than you'll hear from the inside, but there's a couple sweet spots where it'll really hit hard. But when you're just like flying through it, you're not going to get as much.
No, exactly, and it is pretty damn quiet in here. It's actually really nice to drive this car.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable. Like I'm pretty much zoned out because I'm so comfortable, and especially on the highway.
Oh my God, yeah.
We've got great highway driving assist.
Like the most unreal system that I did not expect to have in a car like this.
And the way it works, you have to be on an actual highway. You just keep your hands on the wheel and it'll keep you in your lane. But if you take one hand off, it'll flash like yellow and then it'll go full yellow. So you pretty much need to have both hands on the wheel unless you can have like a nice wide grip on the wheel.
You kind of just need 2 points of contact, even if it's front and back with your fingers.
But real talk, 10 out of 10 highway driving assist.
Yeah, this is one of my new favorites.
And we put a lot of miles on this.
Yeah.
Like, it was very comfortable, and I feel like the gas mileage wasn't even the worst when we were in cruise control.
Not the worst when we're in that, but yeah, we've kind of drained this tank relatively quickly. So moving back into the interior, we do have this weird controller. It's like a double
dial.
Yeah.
The top one's for volume, the bottom one's for scrolling around as if it was a rotary knob without jog, and then you can click down to click enter on anything you have. I think it's a good way to kind of make a touch screen and a controller, but I feel like they could have integrated jog. It would have been just a little bit more difficult.
Probably a lot more difficult, but I just touch the screen anyways. But yeah, the luxurious thing to do is not touch the screen, I guess.
And then below the screen, we've got a little flap that comes down so you can plug in your USB for Apple CarPlay and everything. And then it's got a little compartment for your phone that can slide out. It's so nice, and it's like felt covered or something, very luxurious.
It is. And how are the cup holders?
They are actually American-sized cup holders, according to the website, for Canada and the US, and they'll fit a coffee just fine.
What about the visors?
3, 2, 1.
Fail. Like miserable fail. The angle on them and everything.
Yeah, mostly the angle, because they kind of stick up on an angle and they just like don't cover any sun.
Maserati, come on.
And then on the dashboard, we do have a Maserati clock.
Yeah.
Which is a staple for luxury cars.
But it's a little small and ovally, but anyways.
It still looks cool.
Yeah, yeah. But let's talk about these front seats since we are sitting in them. They're really comfortable.
Yeah, they're not like the right fit for me, but I feel like you and I have the opposite feel for what we like in seats. And then how about the back seats?
Well, that's where the real party is because we have the optional 4-seat configuration so we can change a bunch of stuff in the center console in the back.
Yeah, pretty much
Your climate.
Just climate.
Yeah, just your climate and all of your peasant blockers, which are the coolest things ever because of the frameless windows. I don't think I've ever seen frameless windows with peasant blockers.
Yeah, it's a very cool feature. The only thing that I think would make it better is if you could have the window down and the peasant blocker up.
That would, I mean, it wouldn't do anything and it'd be pretty bad for wind, but it'd be cool.
People wouldn't be able to see inside and
Yeah,
you get more fresh air. But we also have a peasant blocker at the very back, which you can see. To put that down, we need to control it through the infotainment. However, if we put it into reverse, it'll automatically go down.
Yeah, which is a pretty nice feature, even though you'd probably be using the backup camera, but just in case, you gotta look back there.
And there's also a button back there on the passenger side, so you can move the passenger front seat forward if you want more legroom back there.
And that's pretty much all the partying you can do back there, but there is a deep container for champagne?
Champagne glasses or something? I don't
guess.
know, maybe tall Red Bulls?
Maybe, oh, for sure that.
Okay, but the back infotainment we have here, we have nothing.
Nothing.
But if you have your cell phone on you, isn't it pretty much exactly the same as the A8 and the 7 Series?
Yes, but it would be nice to have a tray table. And one thing I want to mention about the steering wheel is that it's quite oddly shaped because it feels like it's split apart in the middle.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird feature, but it's like also a very big steering wheel too.
It is, like the actual circumference.
So I feel like that's pretty much everything with this Maserati Quattroporte. We should probably get to the price.
It starts at $133,600
Canadian.
and this one is optioned out to $150,260.
Which is in line with 7 Series, S-Classes, and A8s.
Exactly, and you get this unique character, you get this unique exhaust sound. You don't see many of these on the road, so I see the value in this.
I would totally go with one of these over that, just because I like the Italianness of it, I like the looks, I like having something different. And especially that Ferrari motor, like,
yeah.
I think that seals the deal for it.
And driving this around, I've gotten so many looks in this and just like nods like, damn bro, like, like getting those ones.
A lot. So even though the competitors are gonna have way more features for a similar price, this thing is just more special, and that's why it's my choice.
Yeah, it's just the different choice, and that's also why I like it. I think the other cars objectively are better cars, but subjectively this is cooler.
Okay, so let us know what you think of the Maserati Quattroporte. Would you take it over the others? And if you're not sure, check out this playlist with some luxury cars that are competitors.
Ooh, those are pretty luxurious cars. Damn, I'd click that list. Oh, turtle. Go, turtle. Go, turtle. Go. No! No. No! I'm not watching. Oh, he's made it. He made it. Yeah. Turtle. My boy.